Hi guys, my name is Nick Broughton and I'm a Randomfish. Hit that subscribe button and let's all be Randomfishes together, shall we? So, I was thinking about what to review next because, frankly, I didn't have any major ideas. I did put out a thing on Instagram. Unfortunately, if anyone has replied to that, I do apologise. I didn't get a chance really to look at them. If they have appeared, they would be in my messages and I haven't looked. I can't seem to see anything, so it's a bit of a bummer, but whatever. So I thought about what to do next, and, well, the hat should give you a clue as to who it is that I'm looking at today. If it doesn't, then I'm going to say a few words that might spring to mind. Racist gift basket, different sizes of fat, and an awful lot of very good voices. Yes, I am talking about the one and only Gabriel Iglesias. Gabriel Iglesias is a comedian that I was introduced to a while ago by a very good friend of mine called Rob. I will link his channel down in the description below. He is a singer. He is trying to do stuff with that. He wants to try and make his channel grow through that aspect. So I do implore you to go off and listen to his stuff after you're done here with me today. I'm hoping anyway. But Gabriel Iglesias, when I was introduced to him, he seemed like a very one-note comedian that I wasn't particularly interested in. It might be because I was starting to lose interest in comedians like Jeff Dunham and various others, because I just felt like I was losing touch with them, as it were, as in terms of actually losing touch with their material, and I just didn't feel as connected to them anymore. And I think Gabriel Iglesias, unfortunately, fell for me in that section. And yes, I have to say his full name every time I mention him, because it's fun to say Gabriel Iglesias constantly. It really is. At least to me. I don't care about anyone else at this point. But eventually I did start watching his stuff, and he's funny. I genuinely find myself laughing at him, and he's a good comedian to watch, and he's a good role model for kids, not just of Mexican descent, but also of people like us. Of people who are Caucasian. That's right, I am using the proper word for that. But honestly, Gabriel Iglesias, I feel like he transcends all of it. Yes, he talks a lot in other languages as he's doing his show and whatnot, but honestly, he not only pauses the show to tell you what it means when he'll translate it for you on stage, but his impressions are so funny, and the way he sort of brings it out, it doesn't really matter. It transcends anything else. And I think that's the good job of any comedian, is to take any kind of differences that you have with your audience and make them not matter. Or at least make them not matter enough that the audience still watches you with a sense of glee, as it were. And that carried over very well for him, because not only has he done a bunch of Netflix specials, he also managed to get his hands on a Netflix show, where he got to live the alternate life that he said he wanted to live. Bear in mind, this show came about and was written by him. Bear in mind that he wanted to be a teacher originally, and he was going to go back to the high school that he used to go to and teach there. Teach history, I believe. Now he's a comedian, and he's touring, and he does all these shows and whatnot now, although not so much at the moment. Thank you, COVID-19. But he was going to be a teacher at one time, and that dream disappeared for him. And through this show, he gets to live that dream properly, I guess. Or at least the most proper way that you can do, being a comedian / actor. But Mr. Iglesias was a Netflix show that was put on, I believe, in 2017 or 2018, I'm not quite sure which. But very recently, this year in 2020, in June, I believe, June 17th, the second season of the show is going to drop. And I wanted to talk about the first season now, here, in the build-up to this, because I don't want to talk about each individual episode. I kind of want to talk about, in general, the season, and what it feels like it's trying to accomplish, I guess. The show does a very good job of balancing the personal and professional lives of the teachers, as well as identifying certain aspects or certain people within the school system that, despite real life telling us that they don't exist or there's a very good reason for the things they do, it shows that even when you're an adult, you really shouldn't just roll over and accept these limitations. You should fight for what you want. And honestly, I think that's a good step. I think that's a brilliant thing to think about. But you have to remember what it is that you're fighting, and you have to remember that you are actually fighting, and you have to keep it up, I guess is the best way of putting it for myself. Mr. Iglesias is the story of Gabe Iglesias, or Gabriel Iglesias. Literally, he doesn't change his name at all in the show, which I think is genius. Who is a history professor at a very, I say, local high school. It's not a look for me, not even in the same country, dang it. But he teaches at a high school, and he teaches a certain amount of kids who are gifted but very limited in their capabilities due to bad home lives, bad financial situations to do with those home lives. And as such, throughout this, at the beginning of the show, these characters are being what we called counseled out. I'm using the Dr. Evil style moment there. No, these kids are being cancelled out by a very clear bad guy. His name is Carlos. It's very hard to say these names without putting the accent on, and I don't want to I don't want to do the accent. I really don't. I want to say it normal. No, I want to say it with my normal voice. If I say it with an accent, it makes me sound really bad. But Carlos is very genuinely... He's not a bad guy. It is a very human and adult situation. In that the school itself is not achieving the rank that the people in charge want it to be. And unfortunately, the way to boost up the test scores and get this school into a very specific high-rising club of schools, top 100 schools I think it is within the show, they have to get rid of the kids who are putting their grades down. And these kids are Gabe's kids. And unfortunately, the headmistress, Paula, who is a very entertaining character. She really is. It's a lot of fun to watch her perform, actually. Mainly because I don't see her in a lot of shows. I don't think a lot of the shows that she's in are shows that I particularly watch. So the fact that she's in this is really cool, and it's nice to see her shine a lot. But the idea is that Paula wants to get the school to that place, and her assistant head is this guy Carlos, and Carlos is the one who's making the assumption that these kids who get the low grades are the ones that need to be kicked out and all this sort of thing. And unfortunately, I love this line specifically that's being said by the character. It's something along the lines of going, yeah, all you have to do is swipe left on a bunch of kids. And I love that line. And I honestly believe that if I wasn't so determined to do things in a very specific way, I could have gotten some decent grades. If I had ever become a teacher, I would have gone that way. I would be the guy that sits there and says, no kid should be gotten rid of, all kids are worth teaching and all this sort of thing. And I know a lot of teachers think that, and I'm not saying that most don't. Bear in mind that I have 2 members of my family who are full-time teachers. There's one that used to be a teacher as well, although it was more part-time than anything else. But I understand that desire, that desire as a teacher to help and protect all students, no matter what their personal lives or their school lives sort of do. and I understand where a lot of that comes from. So it was really nice to see a character really stand there and say, stop screwing around. Like, stop doing this, stop doing that with these kids and blah, blah, blah. And I know this isn't exactly a new idea or a newfangled notion that everyone goes, you know, most unorthodox. I know that's not it. But, I don't know, there's something about the way it's presented that really makes it seem like these characters just, they just don't get it. Or more specifically, Carlos doesn't get it. Paula gets it. Gabe's friends, the other teachers, they get it. The kids definitely get it. Carlos really doesn't. I think he's more obsessed with getting the money and increasing the school's sort of recognizability within the world, that I think he's completely forgotten about the idea of actually trying to help people. Which is quite depressing, really, when you think about it. But anyway, the rest of the show is essentially Gabe and his kids trying to convince Paula, the headmistress, to not get rid of them or to help with certain other things. And eventually, by the end of the season, spoiler, it's revealed that Paula might leave. Now again, spoilers, she doesn't. But it gets dangerously close to this idea that that Carlos might be the new headmaster of the school. And everyone's been like, if you're in charge, I'm quitting. Because you're not doing what's right for the kids, you're just doing what's right for you. And it makes me laugh when characters like this are introduced, because there is a part of me that thinks there's no way you'd ever survive in real education. Like, you just wouldn't. I think about one of the members of my family who is currently an assistant head at her own school, and an English teacher to boot. And it's this thing where I sit there and all I think about is going, if that character existed in her school, she'd eat him alive. Like, all the teachers would just eat this guy alive, and it's not even funny, it's just depressing. Because I don't understand how someone like that gained a position of power within that kind of mentality. It doesn't work. You know what I mean? It just doesn't. But anyway, I mean, that's just me. But anyway, the best way forward to really think about it, beyond anything else, is we get to the kids. The kids are various. You have Marisol, who is the more intelligent of the lot of them, really, which is quite cool. And she's also the one that challenges Gabe the most, which I think is very cool to sort of have around, especially when it comes to that sort of thing. You have various characters throughout the show who all have different quirks, as it were. You have the one who's, you know, one called Lorenzo, who's so consistently paranoid that he thinks that everyone's out there to get him. You know, like, he does this thing where he's like, you know, he says, you know, you can't take a photo of me, now the satellites know where I am, oh my god, and he puts the hoodie on over and then runs out the room. Walt, who is the resident fat guy of the group, he talks about wanting to be a stand-up comedian at a talent show, and all he does is try to rip off Chris Rock, and I sit there going, yeah, that's pretty traditional. But he does find his own voice in the end, which is fine. I have to say, it's absolutely fine. But this all leads into various setups and various characters. We have the fact that Gabe, much like Gabriel Iglesias himself, doesn't drink, or at least doesn't drink as much as he used to. In the show, he does not drink. He is a recovering alcoholic in the show. And there's an episode where he does actually drink alcohol for the first time in months. And he freaks out. And he tries to explain this to this group of this Alcoholic Anonymous meeting that he's going to. And this woman that he likes walks in, and he instantly sort of retracts the statement, trying to act all cool about it, and not actually revealing that he felt vulnerable for once. Bizarrely, I feel a connection to that statement. And I feel a connection to that belief, just because I don't, just because it's this idea that we, as men, we're not allowed to feel vulnerable in front of people, or at least not make ourselves look quite as vulnerable, especially in front of people that we like or have strong feelings for. Obviously, you have to let go of that at some point, and thankfully, I'm letting go of it more and more all the time now, which is nice. But obviously, when you first meet a good person, it's very difficult to hide that sort of thing and all that. And it's wonderful to see that kind of characteristic carry through. He eventually does talk to her about it and all that sort of thing, but it is very much that kind of mentality. One of the things about Walt that I like is that his dad isn't in the picture, and he wanted his dad to come to the talent show because he wanted to see if he could impress him with his stand-up. And when his dad doesn't show, he doesn't want to do the thing at all. And Gabe sits there and he relays his own thoughts, because Gabriel Iglesias, much like the character in the show, was also, his dad also left him. And he was raised primarily by his mum. And, I can understand where a lot of that came from. And I can understand where a lot of that humour came from. And it's nice to see that sort of thing not done through his character, but done through one of the kids in a decent way as well. And there's just various stories. There's the one about a bully for one of the characters, and then there's a slow-mo shot of the three of them walking in, looking all badass. You got this the woman character, and I've completely forgotten her name, and I do apologise, but very cool, very 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 attractive looking woman, waving her ginger hair in the breeze, looking like she has ginger hair anyway. Flying in the breeze, looking all serious. You have Tony, who is Gabe's best mate in the show, who's trying to look serious. And then you have Gabe, who's looking very serious, and he just pulls out a banana and starts peeling it. This whole thing's happening in slow-mo. He eats the banana, one bite, and then throws the rest behind him, and it lands in the bin with no issue. And it's, it's meant to be like this cool, look, we have arrived entrance. And it looks really bad, and it looks really funny, but it still looks badass! How is that possible? Ah! But, to be quite honest, this show does have a lot of cool stuff about it. It does have a lot of flaws, it does have a lot of fun. But above all, it's just a good show. And something I'd like to ask you guys, actually, is two things. Number one, I'd like you to comment below about maybe your favourite Gabriel Iglesias comedy bit, or maybe one of the funniest episodes you felt was in the show. The other thing I'd like to ask is, leave a comment below about the kind of things that you would like to see me tackle next in reviews. Not because I'm out of ideas, because frankly I'm not as much out of ideas as I used to be, but I would like to see what you guys would like. Also, I'm thinking about setting up a Patreon page in the future. I don't know if that might be a good idea. Do please let me know below, or let me know through Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. You can find all the links to that on my channel. Do please subscribe, do please like, do please comment. All of that good stuff. Randomfish out.